For thousands of years, victory on the battlefield wasn't just about numbers. It was about outthinking your enemy with these devastating maneuvers. Welcome to Chronicles of War. Today, we're counting down the combat strategies from the ancient and medieval world that literally changed the map. Let's begin with the oblique order. Before this, Greek phalanxes would just smash into each other. The deeper, heavier formation usually won. But one general was about to break the rules of war forever. At the Battle of Leuctra, Epaminondas stacked his best troops hard on the left. His center and right were intentionally weaker. His powerful left flank crashed into the enemy's right, while his weaker sections slowly gave ground. The Spartan line shattered. The key: the weaker wing had to avoid a full fight, retreating in good order to protect the main force's flank. This single idea would be copied for centuries. Next, the concentrated center thrust. The goal is simple: punch a hole straight through the enemy's heart with your best fighters. Once the center splits, reserves flood the gap, cutting the enemy army in two. Philip of Macedon won the Battle of Kyrenia exactly like this. But be warned, if this fails, your entire army can be surrounded and destroyed, with no reserves left to save it. Then we have the hidden flank, a clever twist on the oblique order. Here, you don't weaken your whole line. You just hide a nasty surprise. Julius Caesar mastered this at Pharsalus against Pompey. He concealed elite infantry behind his cavalry. When Pompey's horsemen charged, they met a wall of unexpected infantry. Caesar's hidden troops routed the cavalry, then turned and encircled the exposed enemy center. For this to work, the rest of your line must hold firm under immense pressure. The inverted wedge was Hannibal's masterpiece at Cannae. His center, filled with less reliable troops, slowly retreated, luring the Romans in. Meanwhile, his strong wings advanced, crushing the Roman cavalry. The Roman center, now unsupported and surrounded, was annihilated. This demands perfect timing and elite troops on the wings. The huge risk: your center might break and run before the trap is sprung. The feigned retreat is simple in theory but a nightmare to execute. You pretend to run, tempting the enemy to break formation and chase you. At the Battle of Pydna, the whole Roman army withdrew over a hill. The pursuing Macedonians lost all cohesion, and the Romans spun around to slaughter them. At Grunwald, only one Polish-Lithuanian flank retreated. When the Teutonic Knights turned to attack the Allied center, the fleeing flank returned to encircle them. This requires incredibly disciplined soldiers and flawless communication. The hit and run was the signature of nomadic horse archers. Think Parthians at Carrhae. It wasn't one feint, but a constant storm of retreats and sudden counterattacks. Small, fast units would pepper the enemy with arrows, tire them out, and then move in for the kill. The Cantabrian circle and Parthian shot were the deadly techniques that made this work. A heavily armored army could be utterly destroyed without ever getting close enough to fight back. Single or double envelopment is the classic pincer move. You engage the enemy's front and send mobile units to swing around one or both sides. The general must be patient, waiting until the enemy is fully committed before launching the enveloping force. The real killer is the rolling up effect. As each enemy unit on the flank is broken, your own forces swell, creating an unstoppable tide. The schiltron was the Scottish answer to heavy knights. Pikemen formed into tight, defensive circles or squares, with a forest of long spears pointing outwards. Front ranks knelt, creating an impenetrable wall of steel. It was deadly to cavalry charges, but terribly vulnerable to arrows. This formation was the direct ancestor of the infantry squares that would dominate battlefields for hundreds of years. Finally, the Roman triplex aces. This was less a single tactic and more a system for winning wars. The legion was divided into 3 lines based on experience. This allowed for incredible flexibility and adaptability. At Zama, they created channels to let war elephants pass through harmlessly, then reformed into a single line to outflank Hannibal. Only the most highly trained soldiers in the world could pull off such complex maneuvers on a chaotic battlefield. These were the game-changing tactics that built and destroyed empires. Which one would you use to lead your army to glory? If you enjoyed this march through military history, do the one thing that helps us immensely. Hit the like button and make sure to follow Chronicles of War. This was a journey through the art of war, and we'll see you on the next one. The greatest weapon is not a sword, but a clever mind.